Hello, new listeners. Welcome, welcome to our Proglib episode where the waves are shimmering, passing through one another, and we help a brother out, or sister, or animals, and anybody could get helped out. And what we do here, we have a series of things for you today. We have an affirming life message. We've got uh, you and I together have we'll be going over the 70-20-10 rule. That'll be the political fix for the Proglib theme there. We're gonna talk about eggs and why am I not in my new studio? Why am I back here in my office? What's going on with that? What that is that's COVID-19. See, I ran some wire and some good internet through the walls. I got a endoscopic camera so I could go through a space that's not even a crawl space. A human can't get through there. And I led my wire, and I set up that new studio, and it's a computer. It has a Native Instruments machine hooked to it with the keyboard and the drum pad. But my wife had to move home. She started working a few months ago. There's no chance of remote at the time. Now they're all working at home. So she had to bring computers home and bring that in and get a laptop, da-da-da. Anyway, she's using the internet. I want to unhook and hook the internet. So it's got the Native Instrument machine, but it's not on the internet. So I'm just in my office because of COVID. So this is what it looks like when you find out that your daily lifestyle is called quarantine. That was me realizing that. So, yeah, that's the office and COVID story. I hope everybody's safe out there. Um, you know, school's out, people are working from home. I already work from home, but we're getting more and more careful. We never did go and try to hoard toilet paper or anything. We waited and waited, and the toilet paper came again. And so far, we didn't run out because we keep ahead on supplies like that, but not way ahead, but like one pack ahead. And eventually, it showed up again. Hopefully, everything will return for us, right? Because our productive capacity in the country is still the same. We just need to keep things um, from dying off, uh, in the meanwhile. I'm using this new streaming interface, so presumably and hopefully it works. Got audio. Eventually they show it, but I don't know. It doesn't say there's any chatters or anything, so no one knows. It's always changing. Luckily, I don't monetize, so I'm not going to complain. All right, now, before we get started with the actual parts of the show, that was just a little bit about what's going on. Let me show you this important message, just sort of to get everybody's mind in the right framework.
Let me warn you, and let me warn the nation against the smooth evasion that says, of course we believe these things. We believe in social security. We believe in work for the unemployed. We believe in saving homes. Cross our hearts and hope to die. We believe in all these things, but we do not like the way the present administration is doing them. Just turn them over to us. We will do all of them. We will do more of them. We will do them better. And most important of all, the doing of them will not cost anybody anything.
So that's a nice little thing. I like to watch that a lot. And anyway, so, I was thinking, the way dragons lay eggs is fascinating. Um, because, they burrow deep down into the crust of the earth, following caves and digging holes to connect, and using not fully understood biological faculties way into the crust of the earth. And then they lay their eggs in an underground chamber. And those eggs cannot hatch until hundreds of thousands, possibly millions of years later. Lava floods into that tube, filling it, heating the eggs. What is this called? Serotinous. Dragons are serotinous, so their eggs have to be heated like that. And then slowly, and this takes tens again or hundreds of thousands of years, the lava will push its way up to the surface, just slowly baking those eggs. It takes a million years. The eggs are dormant. Then it takes a million years for them to be incubated and get pushed up to the surface, where they come out in a lava flow, and as a reaction to sunlight, crack open, thus releasing the baby dragon. And, it's really amazing when you think about it. And then that's how you get an age of dragons, is a clutch of dragon eggs in a chamber that gets flooded with the lava coming up, pushing the earth. If you can imagine in time lapse, it's crushing the earth, pushing it up, and then the lava comes out, the eggs come out, boom, and you have a bunch of dragons. And of course, they live hundreds of thousands of years, unless they come to some unnatural ends, or you could call that their natural way of coming to an end. And so there'll be a long age of dragons. And I just thought that, it's a nice idea. So, so I thought you should know about that. Just know what you think about that. You probably already knew that. Now, politically, we have a not so good situation going on here. Now, I would have liked Bernie, but I believe in ranked choice voting, and I always have for an instant runoff, some people call it. So I like to rank the choices, and I believe in that. If we just had that system, for example, I know a lot of people hate Bernie in the Democratic Party, and but didn't hate Warren. I would have said, so if they like Biden and I like Bernie, I would have happily, if I could have matched up with the Biden voter and said, well, let's go with Warren because we can both get behind her. In other words, sometimes if you have two groups of people and they're split like this, but they both have the same second pick, well, that's what politics, healthy politics and negotiation would be about, is finding that. Finding out what is that common second or third pick. Hopefully it doesn't have to go any further down the list than that. Now, out of all of the candidates, Biden was almost dead last. There were a couple, crazily conservative people. Biden at least could respond to reason. And that's for a couple reasons. Because even among the centrists, when you bring in one of these centrists, you're just bringing in a team, right, of people. And I don't really like this DLC, Democratic Leadership Council. It's an old thing. You can look it up. Minded Democrats, these teams. It's not the Hillary team, but it's related. It's not the Obama team. It's related. It's that section of the party. And I'm not really into that, you're going to get that with anybody that the mainstream funders get behind. They're going to be certain chunks of teams that all come together. And I would have far preferred it a Harris or a Buttigieg to Biden. And having said that, I don't want either of those people. But I mean, like I say, I'm ranking the people. And Biden's worse, and because first of all, he is one of the people that founded the DLC, along with Clinton and Lieberman, and I don't like his policies, but also I'm just worried because he's always been a gaffe machine, well known as a gaffe machine, and just not really having a wide day-to-day appeal. They cast him like he does. Maybe there's some folksy thing in Delaware or Pennsylvania, they say, or whatever. But mostly, I don't think he has a great. He's not a great public speaker and things like that. Um, But now it's worse. And the Democrats are just freaking out. They don't want you to say the true blue party Democrats don't say anything. Well, obviously, the right is already doing it. Everybody's going to go after him because of this. It's the 70-20-10 rule. It doesn't matter how cognitively impaired. It does matter, but it's not the main thing how cognitively impaired he might be. If he's having dementia and stuff, he could just be twisting up his words and that kind of thing. Um, but the 70-20-10 rule is, it's in public speaking, performance, politics, it's 70% how things look, it is 20% how things sound, and 10%, what you say. Now, it does not look good. He doesn't seem to be able to do one event without having some brain fart kind of situation. It doesn't sound good. And then what he has to say is this typical nothing of just like, hey, let's be good people. So that's very disheartening. Um, Now, I'd still rather him be president over Trump because, like I say, you get in a team I'm not fond of, but at least they believe in science and whatnot. Plus, there's been a lot of work done to open up the way for at least some percentage of people to be in there to actually try to create some, New Deal policies again. Um, and, I think that Biden, I've never liked the way he thought. But his mental faculties in terms of him, being clear headed and cogent, um, you know, uh, definitely seem to have declined, right? And so I feel this is not a great situation when you combine it with the fact that the Democratic Party establishment likes to give all of that money that they collect to run campaigns to a bunch of idiots that don't know how to run campaigns. So between that and Biden's situation, I don't think that the team can be coherent or find an alternate leader or things like that. It might end up to be who's the vice president. Maybe that vice president will have to be more of a shadow. I don't know. It's not looking good if you ask me because it looks bad. And I'm biased against Biden. He's been a political foe of mine. Not that it's reciprocated, but I've seen him as a political foe for years since the '90s. I've been mad at him a million times and things while they're happening, bankruptcy bills and Anita Hill and the war and scolding and all of this bullshit. But I think his I think now why want to vote for him anyway? Well, it's you're voting for the team really at that point. And just like people that didn't like Trump, but they're like, "What? We're going to get our judges." But also, I think that even I think that Joe Biden has not declined lower than a point well above where Trump has climbed up to. Trump might not be losing his faculties, but he's never been as you know knowledgeable about things. Mostly, it's just a bad situation. I think Biden should withdraw, and even if they did some scummy thing like try to give it to Buttigieg or Harris instead of giving it to Bernie, Second in place, they say, no, you lost. We're gonna do it. That would fine, whatever. Just give us one of the ones that knows how to do public speaking and kind of enjoys it a little bit from time to time. Um, Not a good situation. And then the last thing I wanted to say is about life. Uh, some mathematical series add up to a finite sum. Like if you take a half plus a quarter plus an eighth plus a 16th and just keep going down like that, 32nd, half and a half, you add all of those up, you get one, a perfect exact one. But I believe if you add one half plus one third plus one fourth and like that, and at least other series of smaller and smaller fractions, it's infinite. You'd think you'd zero in on the answer, but it runs away infinite. You have weird series like, one half minus one third plus one fourth and stuff. And these can all do weird things. Imagine a mathematical series where you're adding one half minus a half plus a half minus a half. What's the answer? It's always either a half or zero, but it's never just one or the other of those things. And that's what life is like. Now, you can stand around trying to judge your life based on things that have happened and judging whether they're good or bad things. You can do that. However, you don't have to do that. It's very likely impossible to add that up. Now you could still do it. It's a bit OCD, but hey, if you want to do some OCD activity like, hey, you're gonna sort all the kids' Legos by color and size, you can do that if you enjoy it. But if you don't enjoy it, you don't have to do it, right? Life, just you could de facto technically say it's a sum of what's come before it up to this current point. That doesn't mean, though, that you have to isolate out the parts of that sum or even fool yourself into thinking you really can isolate them. Life is the moment. I can tell you things like be brave, try to be safe. Um, I can tell you be confident, look for the positive aspect of the moment, all of these kinds of general things. I can't tell you whether or not you should be scared or do something to make yourself safe or hunker down in your current situation or change your situation. Those are details only you can know. But whatever it is that has come up to your current situation, you can rest assured that that is the current situation. All of the million possibilities about what you think might be going on, one thing you can rest assured is there's just the one situation going on. You don't know which one it is, and I'm not saying you should be calmed down. Don't try to figure out. No, still go ahead and try to figure it out, but don't try to sum everything up to decide whether you should feel good or bad. Just look in yourself. If you feel bad, then do something about that, and if you feel good, do something with that. Okay, now there's a couple questions, so I guess it did go out live. Hi, Dynacat loves me and Stargazer. Stargazer says Buttigieg is a proud capitalist. Why would you want him? Well, so is Warren, according to her. I don't want him. What I said is I believe in making ranked choice type votes. So I rank the people. I would go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, all the way down to people I don't like. I don't think Buttigieg, as far as Democrats go, this wasn't a bad sampling of people, policy and disposition wise. Kind of typical in that none of them are great speakers. When you get an Obama or somebody that knows how to give a good speech, I think that's an important political skill, not only for getting elected, but because it means you're a better communicator. Buttigieg is a lot like Obama in certain ways. And I just like, if we had to have one of these corporate Democrats, it was just anybody but Biden for me. If I have to have that set of policy, fine. Weak pressure, I'm used to that. And then when they get in office and we pressure them, they may have a few, progressives in the, Secretary of Education or something. We'll have a little piece of the say, a tiny little seat at the kiddie table or whatever. With Biden, not only is that a situation, I think maybe it's better. I think Biden's a little bit pliable, and not because of any of the mental acuity stuff. I just think that he's trying to adapt to what he's seen going on, just old school politics wise, and incorporate what he thinks he needs to be popular in the whole party. He sees a third of people supporting Bernie. He knows, well, that's significant, and he's going to cede some ground. But can he win? Fuck. Anyway. Dynacat loves me. Will the next pandemic have zombies? Um, that's confusing because it's as if you're saying this one doesn't have zombies. Stargazer says, what do you think about the $1,200 bailout? Doesn't seem like very much. I kind of think we should have a very easy to get extended unemployment for people that need unemployment, and it should be something like 80% of whatever they're making. And then for businesses, I think there should be some automatic relief for small businesses. For large industries like the airline industry, I think you'd have to judge whether they are, um, whether it's a crucial industry. And then things like, people are saying that cruise ship lines, well, if the cruise ship line is flying under another country's flag, then hopefully that country has some deal for them. Dynacat Loves Me says Buttigieg was looking good until he started to take actual positions. Yeah, no, and he looked really great in the past and stuff, and he's obviously looks a little bit like a sellout. But then again, he also has some positive positions that we need in terms of just strong political, parliamentary maneuvering. Like, what the fuck are we doing not having? We have a territory of Puerto Rico. That should be a state, and that's just a matter of politics. And, it's like talking about the Electoral College or whatever. It should be a state. And he supported that. And some very other things. Would he have really followed through? I think probably would have been a little bit like Obama, but to me, that's like, well, at least he's. You know what I like about Buttigieg? The thing that I actually genuinely like about him is I do believe public speaking is an important skill for candidates. And Buttigieg doesn't have to look down at his little note every 3 seconds to give every one of his speeches. And I don't even mind people doing that. If you're coming out, giving a press conference or stuff, have all the facts and stuff. You don't have to, but you're running for president, and you should be able to memorize a few speeches and know how to make your way through without have a note that tells you what the outline is. Because when you have a conversation with another world leader, you're going to have more facts at your fingertips than think you can follow a script or a teleprompt. Stargazer says, I think this virus thing will not be going away until in 1 month. 1,200 ain't shit. Oh yeah, exactly. It's not enough. It should be probably 2 or 3 thousand, and it should be like an unemployment thing where they could put the money aside month by month, whatever the government thinks they need to do in terms of that. But it should be basically, hey, we're going to do this for 6 months or until further notice, or 3 months, and then we're going to extend it for 3 months or whatever. Give some stability for that. But I'll be surprised if we get anything. I mean, that Republican bill was total bullshit. But I've never seen one of these bailouts be good. It's always give the money to the bankers, and they should be giving it to people, as I've said many times before. At least that's coming up in the press now, is the idea of like, why bail out the airlines when nobody can fly? How about we just give all the airline workers unemployment? That's doing the airlines a favor because those people will hang around and not need to do jobs. And then the airline has some breathing room. And if it needs a bridge loan or whatever, fine. In the long run, for now, shutter your operations and save money until we can start shit up again. Dynacat, it doesn't matter if they want to be a state. If they think it's better to not be a state, well, they shouldn't have a better situation either. It's been part of the country for 100 years. Everybody that's in the United States should be incorporated in their own state. There are no wards of the federal government. According to me, it's ridiculous. I've known PR people, a lawyer, for example, who exactly the taxes are better, but well, you shouldn't get a better situation either, and it's democracy. Sorry, and I'm not, and DC too, but DC doesn't have to be a state. It could be incorporated in Virginia. It's basically a part of Virginia now, but otherwise it needs to be a state. And also Guam and the Marshall Islands. Do they each need to be their own state? No, they could be. I don't know. They could be together as one state. I'm sure they'd rather each be their own state. They could be in a state with Hawaii or whatever. It's ridiculous to have these extra, I consider it extrajudicial, but these federal territories. And certainly shouldn't be tolerated for more than, 25 years. Just my opinion, obviously, strong opinionated opinion. Um, so, yeah, Tulsi's not a bad speaker either, though. She can be a little spooky. Um, like she's almost too melodic, but I do enjoy listening to her in terms of her cadence and stuff. I'm not too fond of her overall, though. Yeah, we could. Dynacats love me. That's an interesting thing. Yeah, you could have a situation there where no states. I'm a little bit, this is my libertarian side, maybe or something. I think it's good to have 50 democratic experiments where you can, you know, have your own laws, and sometimes they even conflict with the federal government, and it all works out. I think it's. I still like that. Um, but mostly, I'm just saying they should be all on the same ground. I mean, if it wasn't so advantageous to be a state, then maybe it wouldn't matter. And if you want to say, well, is it advantageous to not be a state? Well, then, okay, if it was exactly the separate but equal, but it can't be separate and the same. So, anyway, thanks to Chatters for confirming that this went out. I'm using the new non-YouTube uh, what is it? The non-classic. I'm using the new studio. It didn't seem like it was gonna work. That's an interesting topic, Dynacat. I'm not sure you can blame that. Anyway, cheers. Talk to everybody later. Stay safe, especially new listeners and viewers. Old viewers, I mean, I'm already confident in you guys that you are staying safe as could be.